There's a level of discipline that makes people look at you with fear. And today you'll discover exactly how to get there. Have you ever seen that person who never fails? Who wakes up every day at the same time, does the same things and just never stops? While everyone else gives up by the third week, they keep going. While everyone else makes excuses, they show up. And you know what people say about them? Man, that's not normal. There's an ancient system created by Zen monks in Japan that produces exactly this kind of frightening consistency. They call it Gyoji, the practice that perpetuates itself. And once you understand how it works, you'll never break a goal again. But there's a catch. This system isn't for everyone. It requires you to kill a part of yourself you never knew existed. But before I show you how it works, subscribe to the channel, like it below, and comment on the habit you most want to create in your life. This helps me a lot and shows me that you're genuinely interested in changing. Let's go. Chapter 1. The Awakening. The story I'm about to tell you happened to a programmer named Raphael. He had a smart guy, a successful career, but he had one problem. He couldn't stick to any habit for more than 2 weeks. Gym. He'd stop after 2 months. Meditation? 1 week and that was it. Reading? He'd buy a book, read 3 pages, and then forget it in the drawer. The pattern was always the same. Monday, total motivation. Wednesday, first mental negotiation. Friday, complete surrender. Sunday, promises about the next week. Raphael tried everything. Habit tracking apps, rewards, accountability partners. Nothing worked because he was fighting something he couldn't even imagine, the very architecture of his brain. Until the day he discovered why Zen monks can meditate for 800 years straight without missing a single day. And no, it's not willpower. It's something much deeper and much more frightening. Chapter 2. The Secret of the Monks. In Zen temples, there's a rule that seems simple, but changes everything. Gyoji. Literally translated, it means continuous practice without gaps. Without gaps. Do you understand what that means? It means that since 1200 AD, every single day at 3:30 a.m., a bell rings at Aihaiji Temple. And since 1200 AD, every single day the monks wake up, not at 3:25 a.m., not at 3:35 a.m., exactly at 3:30 a.m. You want to know what never happens in that temple? No monk lies in bed thinking, today I'm going to jump. The question simply doesn't exist in their minds. Why? Because they understand something you don't yet. Your brain categorizes every commitment into 2 boxes, reversible or irreversible. Reversible commitments become mental negotiations. Irreversible commitments simply happen. When a monk takes his vows in front of the entire community, he's not making a promise. He's changing his identity. He's not promising to try to meditate. He's declaring himself a meditator. The community witnesses it. The identity changes. The negotiation ends. A Harvard University neuroscientist who has been studying habits for 15 years has discovered something revolutionary. When you make a behavior public, your primitive brain interprets failure as a survival threat. Our ancestors who lost status in the tribe died. Your brain still works that way. That's exactly what Raphael did. He stopped making private promises and started making public declarations. He wrote on paper, I am a person who meditates 20 minutes every day at 5 a.m. for 90 consecutive days. He signed it. He posted it on social media. He told everyone. His girlfriend said, you're being too dramatic. His co-workers said, man, you're trying too hard. Perfect. Every person he knew became fuel. Every morning he wanted to give up. He thought about having to look everyone in the face and admit he was just another guy who couldn't deliver on his promises. Day 3 brought the first real test. The alarm clock was 5 a.m. Immediately, my mind began its usual routine. You're exhausted. This isn't healthy. One day won't make a difference. But something fundamental had changed. The thought of posting online that he'd lost after 3 days was unbearable. Having to look his girlfriend in the face and admit he'd given up again. The public declaration had made giving up more painful than continuing. But here the real problem began. Chapter 3. The Internal War. Even with all this social pressure, Raphael was still waging war every single day. His body didn't care about his reputation. He wanted to sleep when he was tired. The public declaration ended the mental negotiation, but he still fought biology every morning. That's when he discovered the monk's second principle, non-negotiable hours. Every day you waste mental energy on the same stupid question. When will I do this? Now or after breakfast, in the morning or at night? This decision burns up glucose in your brain that should be used for actual practice. You're wasting your fuel deciding when to drive instead of actually driving. Raphael chose 5 a.m. Not because he was a morning person who loved watching the sunrise. He chose 5 a.m. because the world was asleep. No messages, no emails, no distractions, no excuses. The time wasn't about optimization, it was about elimination. Eliminating every possible reason to do it later. The first week was hell. Your body fought against it every morning, that's normal. Your body is a machine that works with patterns, and you're forcing it to build a new pattern. It resists. In the second week, something changed. He started waking up 2 minutes before his alarm. His body had begun preparing for what now awaited him. On the 14th, the alarm rang, and his feet touched the floor before his conscious mind even engaged. No thought, no decision, just movement. Here's what most people don't understand about fixed hours. It's not about finding the perfect schedule. It's about removing time as a variable. When you do something at different times every day, you're asking your brain to make a new decision every time. When the schedule is fixed, your brain can't argue with a constant. But Raphael discovered a new problem. His schedule was fixed, but he kept changing what he did during that time. Some mornings, meditation felt right. Other days, he read. Sometimes, a few push-ups. His brain had found a new negotiating point. Instead of arguing about when, he started arguing about what. 20 minutes at 5 a.m. became reliable, but the practice itself was chaos. The fixed schedule had solved half the equation, but his mind was still finding loopholes to negotiate. He'd eliminated the when, but not the what. And this is where Dogen's teaching on forms became controversial, because it requires you to do exactly the same thing every single day until your mind completely surrenders. Chapter 4. The One Way. You think variety keeps things interesting, but variety is actually where consistency dies. Every time you change what you're doing, your brain has to make micro-decisions. Should I do push-ups or burpees today? Which book should I read? How long should I meditate? Every small decision is a crack where your old patterns leak back in. Raphael completely locked everything down. 20 push-ups, 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of reading. Same order, same timer, same thing. His personal Ango period, 90 days of identical practice. His friends called him robotic. His girlfriend said he was getting annoying. They didn't understand that annoying was exactly the point. Third week, his mind went to war. Every morning it screamed for variety. This is stupid. You're not a robot. Mix things up or you'll burn yourself out. Fourth week, something broke. Not his discipline, but his resilience. The voice of negotiation grew quieter. By week 6, he was halfway through his push-ups before he even realized he'd started. The practice was taking care of itself. This is what people don't understand about consistency. It's not about willpower lasting forever. It's about repetition until willpower is no longer needed. Your body learns the sequence like a dancer learns choreography. An MIT researcher who has studied the automatization of behaviors for 12 years explains, when you repeat an action in the same context for approximately 66 days, the basal ganglia of the brain take over. The behavior becomes automatic. You are no longer deciding to do it, you are simply doing it. On the 35th, Raphael caught the flu. On the 40th, he was traveling for work. This is where the old pattern kicks in. Sick day, E, rest day. Travel, E, exception. This is where you gave up before, where everyone gives up, because perfect practice requires perfect conditions, and perfect conditions do not exist. But Dogen understood something about gaps that changes everything. He wrote that practice must continue without even a moment of gap, because in that gap, all your old patterns return. What saved Raphael when everything went wrong was understanding that practice doesn't require perfection. It requires continuity. Chapter 5. Practice without gap. The all-or-nothing lie has killed more consistency than laziness ever could. You tell yourself, if I can't do the full 20 minutes, why do anything? If I can't do perfect push-ups, I'll wait until tomorrow. This thinking creates gaps, and gaps are where your old self crawls back in. Look at any elite athlete, and you'll see something people misinterpret. They have rest days, but those rest days are still progress. They're intentional, strategic, planned. Never because they feel lazy, never because they don't want to train. A rest day allows them to train harder tomorrow. This is still movement toward the goal, but when you skip because you're tired, that's not rest, it's retreat. A river never stops flowing. During a drought it may be a trickle, but it never stops. The moment it stops, it's no longer a river. It's a memory of where the water used to be. Your practice is the same. The moment you create a gap, you're no longer practicing. You're someone who used to practice. Travel day arrived on day 40. Airport at 4 a.m., meetings all day, no gym at the hotel. Raphael did push-ups in the airport bathroom. People looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Great. He meditated in the Uber. He read on the plane. Nothing was perfect. Everything maintained momentum toward the same goal he declared 90 days ago. This is Gyoji, practice continuing itself. That's when people started to notice. Co-workers said he seemed different. Friends said he was becoming obsessive. Someone actually said his discipline wasn't healthy, that normal people don't act like that. When you hear these words, you know you're on the right track. Normal people get normal results. You're not trying to be normal, you're trying to be unbreakable. But here's what no one prepares you for. The unexpected obstacles you never saw coming. The things you can't plan for because you don't know they exist. Chapter 6. Pre-solutions. Your child gets sick. Your car breaks down on the way to the gym. Your boss keeps you late. These are consistency killers because you haven't pre-decided how to handle them. Every time an unexpected obstacle appears, you have to make a decision under stress. That decision in that moment of chaos is where you'll choose the path of least resistance every time. The obstacle wins because you're fighting a battle you didn't prepare for. Zen monasteries have operated for centuries without missing a single day of practice. Earthquakes, wars, famines. The practice continues. How? They don't make decisions when obstacles arise. The answer already exists. When the meditation hall floods, they go to the dining hall. When the dining hall catches fire, they sit in the courtyard. There is no meeting, no discussion, no negotiation. The bell rings. The response is automatic. Raphael wrote down every obstacle that had ever broken his consistency and pre-solved each one. Plan for rain, push-ups in the garage, guests staying home, silent workout in the bathroom, hangover, which shouldn't happen, but if it does, 2 push-ups, 1 minute of meditation, 1 page of reading. Each scenario had its predetermined response. When X happens, I do Y. No thinking, no negotiating, just execution. The power of this isn't just maintaining the sequence, it's that you stop wasting mental energy on decisions. Your brain knows that no matter what happens tomorrow, the practice continues. This certainty changes your entire nervous system. A Yale University behavioral psychologist who has been studying decision-making for 20 years found, when you pre-decide your actions, you remove decision fatigue from the critical moment. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for willpower, remains intact to execute rather than decide. Day 70. Raphael's practice had become completely automatic. He would sometimes wake up not even remembering doing the push-ups. His body simply moved through the sequence like a programmed machine. His girlfriend's mother visited for a week. He did push-ups in the bathroom at 5 a.m. The practice continued because the answers were already written. On the 90th, he completed his personal Ango, 3 months of uninterrupted practice. But something deeper had happened. He was no longer the same person. Friends literally told him, "Your consistency is scary." His response was perfect. Great. Chapter 7. The transformation. Because when your discipline makes others uncomfortable, you're finally operating at the right level. Your existence proves that everything they say is impossible is actually just uncomfortable. That's why they'll call you obsessive. That's why they'll say you need balance. They need you to slow down so they can feel better about standing still. But you're not doing it for them. You're doing it because you've discovered the secret. Consistency isn't about doing something every day. It's about becoming someone who can't do it any other way. When you implement the Gyoji system, public declaration, fixed schedule, a seamless practice method, and pre-resolved answers, you're not just creating habits, you're reshaping your identity. You stop being someone who tries and become someone who simply is. And when that happens, when that transformation is complete, people will look at you and think, how does he do that? And the answer will be simple. He doesn't. He is. The question remains, are you ready for this level of transformation? Because it's not about discipline, it's about death and rebirth. The death of your inconsistent self, the birth of your unbreakable self. The Gyoji system won't make you a better person. It'll make you a different person. Someone others will look at and think, that's not normal. And when you hear those words, you'll know you've finally gotten where you want to be. If this video changed your perspective on discipline and consistency, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss future content that will transform you. And tell me in the comments, what will your public declaration be? What habit will you implement using the Gyoji system? Remember, the consistency that scares others is the only consistency worth having. If you've watched this far, thank you very much for your attention. See you in the next video.